Okay, this next video is about oil change on the Troybilt TBR30 or TB30R. Under the seat right here, if it'll focus, there is a whole list of part numbers, mower blades, belts, plugs, filters, and you can see here the amount of oil and weight of oil. So it's 1030 oil, 57 ounces, so just a little under 2 quarts. And across the other side of it is where it says here oil siphon. Now let's talk about that. If you bought one of these mowers, that oil siphon is the little stupid black plastic tube, half moon shaped tube, that is supposed to make, come on baby, focus, changing the oil easier. Well, I used it one time. So down here is where the oil drain plug goes. As you can see, it's a fair distance away from the edge of the frame, which means oil runs everywhere. And the problem with that siphon tube is when you go to clip it on underneath there, you can't take the plug out with the tube in place, and as soon as you pull the plug out, the oil starts to drain out and it just sucks. So a few people have asked me about this. I'll put the link on the description below, but this is a Drainzit oil changing tube, and as you can see, it allows you to quickly and easily drain the oil to your oil pan sitting on the floor. Best thing you can ever do for this mower is buy one of these. Unscrew the cap, drain out the oil. Super easy. Of course, with any engine you want to run it so the oil's hot before you drain it, and I'm going to do that here in a little bit. And then let's talk about the oil filter. So the oil filter on this particular model, now I actually went to Lowe's today because I saw a posting on another video where the guy was saying there is no oil filter on his, and I said yeah there is. Well, I went to Lowe's and the newer ones do not have an oil filter, so you can change the oil but there is no filter. So I guess that's the new slightly less horsepower motor that they put on it. But anyway, this here is the Fram oil filter, which is the direct part number for this Briggs & Stratton motor. I got this online, Amazon, for $9.99. You can go and get the Briggs & Stratton one from Lowe's, and it's like $12, $13. So but this is what I use. So drain the oil first. Once it's drained, pull the filter off, and just like any other oil change, dip your finger in the oil, little bead of oil around the rubber gasket. You can't really fill this filter up with oil like you might be able to on a car because it goes on sideways. But yeah, pretty much just a standard oil change. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I will be back. Okay, so the cap on this is an 11/16 wrench, and I'm just going to use a pair of pliers on the back part here just to undo that. So let me do that and I'll be right back. And there it goes, draining away from the engine into my oil drain. I'm just going to let that drain all the way down. When it stops dripping, I'll change the filter. So to hold the tube down, so I didn't have to stand there and hold it, I just put a pair of pliers over it just to put a little bit of weight on the end. So we're going to let that run down. Good stuff. Okay, so slowing down now. It's only been a couple of minutes, but I'm going to let that drain as long as I can. It's what, 57 ounces of fill oil, but you're never going to get every drop out, but I'm going to get as much out as I can. I only change the oil once every year. I can't remember what the hour meter says. We're at 84.5 hours, so this will be the third oil change. I did it the first time after I broke it in. I did it last year and then this year. So the rule of thumb on a small engine is 50 hours is the equivalent of 3,000 miles an hour. 3,000 miles. It's calculated at 50 hours at 60 miles an hour is 3,000 miles. So that's the rule of thumb for small engines, is somewhere around the 50 hour mark. So yeah, we're going to let that run, and then we're going to put in some lovely delicious new oil. Doesn't matter what the brand is. I just got this because it was the cheapest named brand oil at the store, 1030. 2 quarts, not going to use all of it. Did pull out the dipstick, which is also the drain plug, so we're going to let that finish dripping out and come back. Okay, while we're waiting for that oil to drain out, let's talk about the air filter. Now that's mounted on the right hand side of the mower if you're sitting in the seat, so that would be driver's side if we're talking about cars, and up underneath this housing here, which it's got a little bit of flex on it, but you'd have to undo bolts on the back to remove it, but you don't need to take that off. All you got to do is pop these 2 little cam bolts till they're in this direction, and there's another one up under here. Okay, and then you can just pop the housing off. And it's tricky to do one-handed. There we go. And that just comes out. And you can see they've just got these little notched cams that go down in those holes, and then the air filter you just pop off, and then these air filters have a sponge large particle screen on it, and then the filter itself. Now I already cleaned it out, so I just pulled the sponge off and take it outside and just whacked it on the ground until all the dust comes out. Yeah, I mean, probably, I don't know, probably could change it. But I just knocked the dust out and it seems to be fine. And then just make sure when you put it back you don't get dust down into the carburetor. Just push it back on and make sure your tabs are back on the cover. Kind of slide it back in. I have to wiggle those cams around a little bit to get them to go back on. If you've got big hands and that's awkward for you, there you go, that's locked on. You can just undo the 2 bolts here, and this top panel just comes off. It's clipped on up there, so it's not a huge chore to get that off. Alright, so that's the air filter. Super easy. Let's see how we're doing on the drip. Alright, that's good enough for me. So, little cap back on. I will tighten that up and then tuck this back into its little rubber keeper right there. Keep it tucked up out of the way. Alright, back in a minute. Okay, that's that tightened back up again. And it just goes into that rubber holder there. And there it is. The Drains It oil drain tube. You just gotta get one. My goodness, not one single drop anywhere except right into the oil drain pan. Perfect. Okay, oil filter time. Now, I've got a couple of paper towels ready to go because this is mounted sideways and it has the potential to grip. And again, doing this one-handed. There it goes. And it's hot because I did just mow the yard before I did this. So I'm gonna stuff the paper up underneath and hopefully get this off without making a big mess. And as you can see, I'm failing. Alright, I'm going to have to finish this off camera. Okay, well, not too bad. I'm going to wipe it out real good. Man, it's hot. Let me get all that sand and crap out of there. Otherwise, there's no point in changing the oil. Should have put some cardboard down. Oh well. We'll get that later. And then, new filter. So, fresh, clean oil. I'm not even shooting the video. A little bit on the filter itself, and then what I am going to do is pour just a little bit in, because it does have a paper liner. We can at least get that soaked. I'm going to swirl it around. Get that oil to soak in. And I need another towel. Okay, so off camera I just made sure I cleaned this real good so that there's no grit or dirt or sand. And then we're just going to screw, in theory. Oh, come on. There we go. It's all about the angle. And just want to get it good hand tight. You don't want to go Superman on it, but And there we go. So oil drained, filter changed. It's taken me about, I don't know, 10 minutes so far. And then I've got my funnel in there. And I know for sure it's going to be at least 1 whole quart, so just going to go ahead and dump that in. And then when I empty my drain pan, I will measure how much oil we got out. Alright. Okay, so this is what I do. I empty my oil drain pan into the first bottle that I got, fill it all the way up to the 1 quart line. Then I've got a 5-gallon jug that I use to take the old oil back to the parts store. So then I pour that 1 quart into the big jug, and then because I know that I'm under 2 quarts, right? So I want to find out close to how much we got out. And then I empty the drain pan into here, and then I can see how much I need to put back in. So what are we looking at? Okay, so it's that's about 10 ounces, 10 fluid ounces. So that's what I'm going to put in from the other bottle. And then wait a little bit, and then I can use the dipstick and measure. I mean, you can go the other way. You can just put a little bit in and keep doing the dipstick, but this just for me is quicker. Gets you closer to where you need to be, and then I'll add a little bit more. It's just way easier to add a little bit more than it is to drain some out if you go wild and crazy and put too much in. Anyway. Okay, so I ended up putting in 1 quart and 1 pint, which is 16 ounces. So what's that? 32, 16, 48 ounces. And you won't be able to see this on camera because I can barely see it, but we are right on the money between the high and the low level. So that's it. Total time, including monkeying around with the camera and showing you the air filter, probably 15 minutes. Not a big deal at all. Thanks.